We're back with former Iowa Republican Party Chair Steve Grubbs and Democratic political consultant Porter McNeil. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker got dealt his first loss since taking office. Voters overwhelmingly rejected his constitutional amendment to change Illinois' income tax structure from a flat tax system to a graduated tax. That needed a supermajority of 60% to pass, didn't even get 50%. What are the implications of this result to Illinois and the political capital of the governor, Porter?
Well, the implications are that the governor and his team were setting the fiscal estimates. If it had passed, it would create a new fiscal foundation that would help balance and strengthen the state's finances to some degree. It was not a cure-all, but it would set a trend toward the future that would be helpful. So they have a short-term financial challenge to deal with now that this has failed. So they're going to have to redo their budget estimates and all that. I think the campaign itself, it sort of got caught up in a confluence of factors. The Speaker of the House, Mike Madigan, the negativity toward him in a lot of the campaigns downstate. I saw in the congressional race, the 13th district, downstate Illinois, where Rodney Davis beat Betsy Lonergan. The bulk of the last few weeks, the TV was tying Betsy to Mike Madigan. So this distrust of Madigan, this distrust of Springfield that's been building up for many years, and then along comes a tax. They call it a fair tax. You know, in reality, it supposedly gives a tax break for 97% of Illinoisans. So maybe they need to rename it as the Tax Cut Amendment. They called it the Fair Tax Amendment. I think it got lost in a lot of that and a lot of the distrust of Springfield. So that if they want to redo it, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and come up with a new campaign.
Yeah, hold that thought. I want to get to that in a moment. So, Steve, what are the implications, do you think?
Yeah, so obviously I didn't have a dog in that fight in Illinois,
True.
But it was a fascinating thing to watch, sort of the battle of the billionaires, the hedge fund manager, the governor who's the Hyatt heir, and they both put in, I think, roughly $45 million. So it was fascinating to watch. As Porter said, the word fair in polling, we've never seen the word fair poll very well, because if a politician tells you something's fair, voters have a distrust of that. I think probably it's a benefit to Illinois. They've been driving their high income folks to Florida. I know a few of those people, and taking their tax revenue with them. It seems to me that you probably want to keep your high revenue people in Illinois and try to stem this population exodus. But, most of what Illinois has done recently has been a benefit to Iowa, and I think we're going to see that continue.
I guess one of the things I noticed that, Porter, like the lowest tax bracket was a significant tax break, but the ones in between really didn't seem to offer that significant tax break than what they pay now. Was that something that you think might have factored into it?
Right. So, I think it was a very, when I say 97%, I think there's a certain percentage that it was very nominal in terms of a tax break. But again, I think it's partly, like Steve said, the framing of it, the wording. I believe, particularly downstate where I live and work, there's been a decades-long buildup of distrust about Springfield, and this goes back to when they passed the state lottery and they said this would help fund schools, and people thought it was funding schools, and then we find out property taxes are continuing to go up because we have to fund schools, and they thought the lottery was doing that. So this goes back to people's lack of confidence in Springfield generally, and I think when you throw that out there, it got caught up in, as Steve said, this was a battle of billionaires. The amount of money was incredible, and the no group did a pretty good job of just unrelentingly staying negative on it and defining it a certain way. And they're going to have to go back to the drawing board if they want to do this again. Well,
Steve, we also have heard since then, actually, the governor's already threatened that it might have to require an increase in the flat tax for everybody. So is this possibly a failure for the people who support it to emphasize the consequences if it didn't pass? And is there a likelihood of voter remorse later?
Yeah, the governor said recently that there'd be deep cuts, potentially an increase in taxes in the flat tax. But he said the people who are going to have to bear the responsibility for it are the ones who defeated the amendment. But at the end of the day, it's really not that. He's the governor. Democrats run the legislature. They've got to do the heavy lifting, no matter who put their money into defeating it. You know, I was in the majority in the legislature once, and I recall, you know, we always had to do the heavy lifting in the majority. So it'll be that way. They're going to have to make some very tough decisions. But you know what? Businesses and families are making those same tough decisions right now. Government's going to have to do the same.
We'll pick up the conversation in a moment. Still to come, red wave. Big wins in Iowa statewide put Republicans in an even stronger position. What you can expect from lawmakers in Des Moines. For the Record.